Mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, sisters and brothers, friends for life, won't live in the past. All I wanna do now is making it last. Mothers and fathers, sisters and brothers, friends forever.
Why should we focus on our own journeys and not pay attention to others? Welcome to Make It Last podcast. I'm your host, Noreen Deal. It's all about helping us to have better relationships, not just with ourselves, with other people. So I want to be speaking to a woman who she said I should decide how I introduce her. So all I will say is this. She's not like a big sister to me. She is my big sister. And for those of you who don't understand that, I'm sure a lot of you can relate to the fact that for a lot of us, family isn't only biological. Mrs. Avery Thompson, welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. How are you doing?
I'm good. And why am I having her speak on this? I think a woman with her experience can definitely speak to this topic. So, Avery, why should we focus on our own journeys? We're going to break it up in pieces and then put it together. Why?
Okay. Well, throughout this life, you're called for a purpose. Sometimes we don't know what that purpose is until we begin to mature and to look at what's going on around us and to decide where we're going to fit in society. So that to me is why we would actually have to focus on what our own journey is going to be like. It's just that it takes time to develop it as you go step by step and as you age, and I shouldn't just say age, as you mature, because that is what makes you decide where exactly you're going to fit in.
You said just now the whole idea of purpose. There are a lot of people sometimes who they have no idea, how then do I find my purpose? Is it God-given? Is it something that just over time I recognize what it is? How then do I know my purpose?
Well, actually, I'm always going to speak from a Christian perspective, and I think that it's God-given all the time. Sometimes we don't recognize it at the immediacy, and sometimes you hear people actually saying, so though you say others shouldn't determine your purpose, sometimes you have persons who actually care about you, and you'll hear them saying to you certain things like, hey, you should go into this, or I see that you have a gift for this, or you have such influence on such and such. And those kinds of persons are probably put in your life to help you determine that purpose also. So it's not something you should just take lightly and just throw it over simply because you might not like that person or you don't think that person has as much sense as you would like them to have, etc. Listen to what people say about the talents and the gifts that you keep displaying, because more than likely that is a calling that they have been given through God to point to you.
I'm smiling because I remember some years ago when I was quite reluctant to do certain things, and still a mentor, Elaine Oxyman, nudged me in a particular direction. I really didn't have a choice. I was told, no, let me not say told, because that sounds dictate, like almost she was a dictator. I was encouraged
and steered.
And yes, and steered. And I was told that, yes, you're going to start teaching debate and argumentation. And so many years later, a lot of opportunities have actually come out of that because she actually saw something in me that I didn't at the time. So you're absolutely right. So we're gonna just talk about the other part and then put it together. Why should we not pay attention to the journeys of others?
That when I was looking at that particular perspective, it caused me a little to reflect a little bit, because I've never been one of those that is jealous of what other people accomplish. I love to celebrate with people. No matter what you get, no matter where you reach, I'm always happy to celebrate with you. But the thing about not looking at somebody else's journey does not always give you the full perspective that you should have. So for instance, the same way I said about somebody speaking to you and saying a particular thing to go, maybe they actually went through that journey and they saw where you could come right along with them or actually lead them through something. And based on that kind of principle, you might want to adopt a new way of thinking, a new way of structuring yourself, etc. But I found that my paying attention to other persons not letting them determine my journey, but looking at what they've been through, the struggles that they had, different kinds of mindsets that they produced, helped me to determine how to move along with my own journey. Sometimes you feel like giving up. And yet when you see that somebody has fought through a particular thing, it gives you a mindset about how to fight through. That not everything that you see is going to be a stumbling block. And sometimes, there's a gentleman who passed away many years ago that gave an expression, and I hope it's not going to be offensive to anybody, that a kick in the ass is a step forward. It sometimes, based on what you see other people struggling with, it gives you new insight. Some of the inventions of this century, actually, those journeys were fought because other people were missing certain areas, and these persons actually use that to determine their journey. So while I'm not going to let somebody else's journey dictate how mine is, sometimes watching what they go through helps me to determine how to focus on my own journey.
I know, just like me, you've been enjoying this conversation, but we're going to take a break and listen to a word from my partners, and we'll be right back.
Are you struggling to become an effective communicator? Let Noreen Daly, the communications specialist, get you there. Services include communications consultancy, one-on-one coaching, public speaking and debate training, leadership and team building sessions, plus much more. Visit noreendaly.com for more info. Noreen Daly, redefining the way you communicate.
So, the whole idea of a branding strategy sounded so exotic and so fancy to me. But after having several conversations with Neon, I now have a clearer understanding. I am sure of what my identity is, what it is that I want people to see Noreen Daly as. Thanks Neon, thanks Splint. Visit them at wearesplint.com.
Are you looking for one-of-a-kind products customized to suit your needs? Then shop at Trending Things, the place where customization is always an option. From personalized gifts to apparel, accessories, drinkware, and home decor, you name it, we make it. Get your favorite designs on any item for party favors, weddings, graduations, or any special occasion, all at affordable prices. What are you waiting for? Visit our website at trendingthings.com to order your trendy item today. Trending Things, bringing creativity to the things you love.
This whole idea of our journey in life. Let's continue this conversation. So what you just said, though, is even though initially it might seem as if it's almost as if you're competing or almost as if you're jealous of somebody else, you're saying you can actually use what's happening with somebody else to actually inspire you. So we're going to just put it together. Right. We're going to just put it together. So why should we focus on our own journeys and not pay attention to others? We're just putting it together now.
The fact is that for us to fulfill our purpose in life, it means that there's a journey that we're going to have to take. Sometimes that journey is going to be filled with good times. Sometimes it's going to be filled with bad times, but most of us are going to have a mixture. The fact is that we're going to have to determine from that journey where our goal is. What is the end point that we want to reach to? And if that's true, and we have it in mind, then regardless of which channel you take to get there, that's not the important thing. Whether you had to stumble, whether you had to fall, whether you had to pick up, whether you had to get help, whatever it is, that's not the important part. The important part is that you see the goal ahead and you're striving to get there. So persons who have helped, persons who you watch, persons who you see, regardless of any of those kinds of things, you have an aim that you got to go. So you might have to do a roundabout, you might have to do a highway, you might have to even do back street or whatever, but you are on a journey that you want to go on. Other people's journeys may be, like I said, in your peripheral vision, but that's not your aim. Your aim is to make sure that you're going to get where you need to get. And, you know, as I said, from a faith-based thing, I've always believed that God is going to help me determine where I need to go. He is someone that I consider to be my best friend, better friend than my husband, because God knows everything about my thoughts and my emotions, everything that affects me every day. And if I trust him to lead me and to show me where my journey should be, then regardless of what other people around me are doing, he has me in his hand and he's directing my path. And that's where I choose to go. And his instructions are the ones I choose to follow.
Okay, I want to be a backtrack just a little bit though, because you utilize some terminology that somebody listening or watching might be saying, what is it she meant by that just now? You said highway, back street, or roundabout. Just give me the distinction with those three terminologies, please.
Highway is going to be straight. Roundabout, sometimes, you want to go in a particular direction, but you can't get to it right now. You have to actually take a little route around it. And sometimes a back street, maybe the highway is blocked by some accident. So you can't really get there right now. So you might have to take a back road to sort of find a different route to actually still get to the point that you want to get.
You started out by saying the whole idea of having a goal. There are some people, based on how they're socialized, in their minds, they don't necessarily think that they need to have a goal, so to speak. So they're just going with the flow. What then would you say to somebody like that, who for them, they just embrace whatever happens and they're literally just going with the flow?
I've seen that happen a lot with young people these days. And I think that sometimes the good thing about technology is also a bad thing about technology. Sometimes the imagination, sometimes the goal setting and these things are put aside because of the use of technology that just incorporates all of our imaginative and creative ability. And so sometimes we can't see where we actually should be going. But as I said, I think that part of it is that some of the structures that we have, some of the guidance that we have, some of what we as older people owe to younger persons is to help them in this journey. Be a guiding light, hold their hand, take them through. Don't judge as quickly as some of my age tend to do to young people. We're supposed to be a light that shines away, because if we don't leave a kind of heritage for them, there's no way for them to go. And aside from that, if we decide to just die with everything we have, then where is our legacy? So for me, part of the responsibility that some of us that are older need to have is be able to take others with us to help young people find their own purpose, even if it's just a guide, even if it's indicating to them, as you said, Oxymendi did for you, to show you where we actually see that you have a gift and to channel you in that way. Sometimes all they need is just a little, not necessarily a push, but a pull. But as an older person, a more mature person, sometimes we have to just determine, is it a push or is it a pull that we need to do to get them where they need to be?
How then, for those who are listening, who might think, I hear you. I hear what you're saying, Avery. But for me, I think that I'm a hopeless case.
There's no such thing. There is no such thing as a hopeless case. And if that were true, I don't even know why Jesus would have bothered to die for us, because we would have been hopeless. But I do think that some people will take longer than others to actually fulfill their purpose or even to see it. And that just means that it's going to be time. All of us have invested time. All of us have only a certain amount of time. We don't even know how much time that actually is. But what it does is allow us to actually begin to sense things. I do think that some of the problems that we have right now, as I said about technology, is that we don't read enough. I believe that if people were reading a lot more, I think they'd be inspired a lot more to get to where they actually could accomplish what they need to in their own purpose and in their own goal setting.
You said a lot. If it is that all of what you said just now does really just flow over somebody's head, what's the one idea you'd want to really stick and resonate with them?
I would suggest that young people find a mentor. Find someone who sees the good in you despite what you think you see in yourself. And with that mentor, you don't have to be a nag, but you need to be a hold onto that mentor, help them, listen to them, allow them to guide you and allow them to make suggestions. And don't just throw it off because you think you don't see what it is. But I would choose to find a mentor, someone who can love you, someone who can relate to you, someone who can give you some time so that they can discuss and show you different methods, different ways to accomplish what you desire to. And if you're not desiring it, help you to desire, simply because they love you and they care about you. So that would be my thing. Find a mentor.
All right. So I'm going to add to that. For somebody who others see me as a mentor, what then are you saying to me?
This is part of what our legacy ought to be. How do you help others to get to where they need to be? And that is part of your journey, whether you realize it or not. Your journey was not just to get, your degree or to accomplish something in teaching. Your journey was also to help other people along the journey. And I think that that is what happens to us in our life. While we don't pay attention necessarily to others' journeys while we're doing ours, actually you do, because that's how you help other people to accomplish their journey. And if not, we'd be in a very selfish world. And I don't think that that's what God intended.
Well, and as we're wrapping up, I mentioned Elaine Oxum in the VC, but I am going to use this as an opportunity to say that you've also added to my journey. So a lot of what I am today is because of your influence also.
My
so thanks for sharing.
Total pleasure. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing, Avery.
Take care and thanks for having me.
All right. This was Make It Last podcast, where it's all about helping us to have better relationships, not just with ourselves, but with other people. I'm Noreen Daly. Until next time.
Mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, sisters and